Hello. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Lay's Saturday Night Live, another CCP's political reality show where the power is fake and the fear is real, where everyone claps or disappears. Well, I've told you before that the CCP's infighting is a life and death struggle. Maybe you thought that was just an expression. Tonight, I'll show you it's literal. The third highest ranking PLA leader is said to have died. And this is the second death of top PLA leaders that we mentioned in a week, that we've heard in a week. And guess what? Xi Jinping's own life may be under threat. So tonight, we'll first go over the PLA's bloody purging and the death of Vice Chairman He Weidong, or the rumored death of Vice Chairman He Weidong. Then we'll address what's threatening Xi Jinping and the four possible scenarios of his fate. All right. Now, China has been compared to a massive Hollywood set. Everything looks impressive on the surface, but it's all for show. Behind the facade, nothing is real. CCP officials stick to their scripts. The public plays along as extras, and the whole production is staged to keep up appearances. From population figures and GDP growth to foreign reserves and COVID casualties, virtually everything is manipulated. But the biggest performance of all, CCP's internal politics. On paper, the leader is all-powerful, but this kind of hyper-centralized control is brittle, easily shattered from within. So let me ask you a question. What year is 2025? It's the year of the snake, a time associated with dramatic changes and transformation. And it's also Xi Jinping's own zodiac year. He was born in the year of snake. In Chinese tradition, your zodiac year, known as 本命年, is considered highly perilous. It is often marked with personal trials and tribulations. So for Xi Jinping, that belief is playing out in real time. Not only his grip on power weakened dramatically, but now he faces the very real prospect of stepping down. His loyalists, they're not just sidelined, they're being purged. And by purged, I don't mean just politically. In some cases, it's literal. I'm talking about bloody physical elimination. So it's now been confirmed through unofficial sources that the CCP's next leadership meeting, the Fourth Plenum, will take place from August 27th to 30th. The fact that this date has been finalized suggests that the CCP's warring factions have reached a basic consensus. Xi Jinping, under pressure, has been forced to compromise. I believe he has resisted, or he had resisted for a long time. But in the end, he lost, and his loyalists are paying a big price. We'll go over that in a little while. And some have lost their lives. So a few days ago, I told you about the death of General He Hongjun, who had just been promoted last July to deputy chief overseeing the PLA's political and personnel operations. He reportedly took his own life while under investigation. But many China experts doubt it was suicide because CCP's detention units for senior officials are designed to be suicide-proof. Let me actually... This is the man. This is the... We already discussed his demise earlier this week. So, and now in another bombshell, a reliable source has revealed that the vice chairman He Weidong, another General He, has also died, and supposedly by suicide. In fact, sources said that he died before General He Hongjun. So there's the other He. So because they have the same last name, and they're both generals. So to avoid confusion, I'll refer to them this way. Vice Chairman He Weidong, and Deputy Director He Hongjun. When the rumors first came 2 months ago that Vice Chairman was arrested, we felt that it was earth-shattering since it was too shocking. Now, 2 sources have revealed that he had died. The first one appeared around April 20th. Okay, 2 separate sources that have leaked his death. The first one came around April 20th. At the time, people brushed it off and didn't pay attention. And that source said that if we heard He Weidong died from sudden illness, it means that the authorities are lenient. But if we hear that he dies from suicide, that means that the authorities aren't lenient. And yesterday, political commentator Cai Shengkun, who has been very reliable in breaking these rumors, revealed that Vice Chairman He Weidong committed suicide. He was detained shortly after the 2 sessions in March and was first interrogated at the 301 military hospital. Then he was transferred to Baoding for interrogation. Now, Mr. Cai learned by mid-May that all the guards assigned to watch over Vice Chairman He had returned to Beijing. Even the chef who was responsible for his meals had been sent back. So Mr. Cai thought that it was really strange that these people were dismissed. So he tried to understand why. Yesterday, he got confirmation that they were released because Vice Chairman He died from suicide on May 2nd. And similar to the other General He died in the 301 military hospital. Now, when we hear Vice Chairman He's death from 2 separate sources, we cannot ignore it, especially when we just heard the other General He's death a few days ago. But in their cases, people do not believe that they committed suicide because they have no means to take their own life. Like I said before, the CCP does everything they can to prevent the officials from taking their life while being interrogated. The walls are padded and there's no sharp objects in the room, no strings. So people generally believe that the 2 generals were executed. And the reason? For assisting Xi Jinping in a failed coup to regain power. So if you remember my program on April 27th, it was a live stream. I reviewed Xi Jinping's faction having attempted to take his power back, but their efforts failed. And so as a result, on April 17th, the Central Military Commission issued a classified notice to all officers ranked Major General and above, including retired ones, about the crime of Xi Jinping's 2 top military leaders, Miao and He Weidong. Do I have a picture? Here we go. I try to find this picture showing the 2 of them looking miserable at the same meeting. So if you remember that program, so that the officers were either allowed to read the document on site or had it read aloud to them. No recordings, no notes taken were allowed. And the authorities used rare damning language to describe their crime, which says that they were atrocious traitors disguised as loyalists, and they committed unpardonable crimes. So the above language, if you really think about it, it is rare. I mean, we haven't seen anything like that in recent history, right? It indicates that their crime was unforgiven. So that makes people believe that the Vice Chairman He was executed. The fact that the first rumor appeared on April 20th indicates that he was executed right before the above-mentioned classified notice was issued. They didn't leak it until now because it would be too shocking. They leaked the death of the other general, He Hongjun, just to test water. And then, a few days after, they were all leaked through rumors. I do not believe that they're going to officially announce that they died, because it would be just too problematic. So both generals were executed because they were all involved in the coup attempt against Zhang Youxia and the party elders, trying to help Xi Jinping take back his authority, but they failed miserably. And the purge didn't stop there. More heads are rolling. Yesterday, multiple sources revealed that 5 more senior generals have been arrested. And this is in addition to all the ones that we've heard. And here are the 5 ones. They are General Huang Ming, commander of the Northern Theater Command, Lieutenant General Cao Qingfeng, Deputy Chief of Staff of the CMC Joint Staff Department, Lieutenant General Yang Chen, Political Commissar of the Xinjiang Military District, Zhong Shaojun, former director of the CMC's General Office, and Zhong's replacement, current director of the CMC's General Office, Fang Yongxiang. Now, of the 5 officers, Fang Yongxiang's role is particularly sensitive. As the director of the CMC's General Office, he is effectively Xi Jinping's secretary in the military. He's the military counterpart to Cai Qi, right? Xi Jinping's executive assistant taking care of party affairs. And he is also a top enforcer and eyes and ears within the armed forces. Now, Fang is from Xiamen, Fujian, and is known as a hardcore Xi Jinping loyalist. His predecessor, Zhong Shaojun, also a diehard Xi Jinping loyalist, is rumored to be arrested in this round. Now, Zhong was last seen last August. That was his last public appearance. And then he was rumored to head one of the PLA's top military academies, but the news was never confirmed. Now, Zhou has been Xi Jinping's secretary in the military for over 10 years, first as deputy director of the General Office, then as director since 2013. That's from the very beginning of Xi Jinping's rule. So if both of them are arrested, it means that they must have been involved in Xi Jinping's coup against Zhang Youxia. I also want to talk about General Huang Ming, commander of the Northern Theater. He was handpicked and fast-tracked by Xi Jinping, promoted to Major General in 2014, Lieutenant General in 2019, and just 3 years later, in a rare leap, to full general. He then served as commander of the Central Theater, the very unit responsible for protecting Beijing and surrounding areas. Now, last August, he was suddenly reassigned to the Northern Theater. At the time, it was seen as a politically sensitive move that signaled something unusual. I believe I discussed it in one of my programs in October last year. Now, the Northern Theater is known as Zhang Youxia's home base, his stronghold. So shifting Huang Ming, a Xi Jinping loyalist, from the capital's key post to Zhang's turf was widely seen as a demotion. It was Zhang's move to effectively sideline General Huang and placing him under surveillance, right? By sending him to one of his to his own turf. And so that's General Huang. Another detained leader, Lieutenant General Cao Qingfeng, also hails from the 31st Group Army, which is the core of Xi Jinping's loyalists, the core military unit where Xi Jinping's loyalists came from. So General Cao is another member of Xi Jinping's inner military circle being taken down. In addition, now, I don't know if you remember, there are other scores of generals and admirals who are missing or rumored to have been arrested. I just want to remind you who they are. So here you can see, this is He Weidong, Miao, and then Lin Xiangyang, commander of the Eastern Theater Command, responsible for the Taiwan operations. Wang Houbing, former director chief of staff of the PLA Navy. Wang Xiubing, former commander of the Southern Theater Command. And then Wang Haijiang, commander of the Western Theater Command. And then on next slide, Qin Shutong, former political commissar of the PLA Army. Qin Shengxiang, former chief of the general office of the CMC, and also former political commissar of the Navy, PLA Navy. Yuan Huazhi, political commissar of the PLA Navy. Zhao Keshi, who is a retired general, who was the former head of the CMC Logistics Support Department. He was rumored to have been arrested. Han Weiguo, former commander of the PLA Army, and later deputy chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the National People's Congress. He's also retired. And then last but not least, the commander of the People's Armed Police Force, Wang Chunning. So for those of you who still believe Xi Jinping's power is unchallenged, then I think you are ignoring some basic facts. That these people could not have been taken down by Xi Jinping. And there's a reason why they have been missing for so long. It's impossible that Xi Jinping took them down himself. He'd be crazy if he did. Sadly, it's not an overstatement to say that we may never see some of these PLA leaders again. That brings us to the next topic tonight. Why am I saying Xi Jinping's own life is under threat? Let me get rid of these pictures because they don't serve any purpose anymore. Now, there has been the political whispers or the talk of a so-called mysterious 60-day plan. Yeah, it's called 60-day plan, circulating in Beijing's top political circles. According to the rumor, Xi Jinping has just 60 days left to either step down or be taken out. And by taken out, it's not a political exile. It means physical elimination. So why 60 days? That number carries symbolic weight. Former Premier Li Keqiang died exactly 2 months after he visited the Mogao caves in Gansu following his retirement. It was an event that reportedly angered Xi Jinping due to the former premier's lingering popularity with the public. 2 months later, Li was found dead under suspicious circumstances while swimming in Shanghai. That 2 months gap has taken on an eerie, almost cursed quality in Zhongnanhai. Now, people are whispering that Xi Jinping might meet the same fate within 60 days. They even give a date, July 18th. They say it could be the day Xi Jinping steps down or the day someone makes their move. Now, the theory goes even further. It allegedly took Xi Jinping I think the July 18th was they say that it took Xi Jinping 2 months to get rid of Li Keqiang. And now that same timeline maybe turning back on him. That's what they're saying. So it sounds crazy, right? I mean, and I didn't believe it when I first heard this, but we need to make sense out of this. So now I want to talk about why suddenly we're seeing this bloody purging. Because Mao Zedong killed many of his rivals and subordinates, but since the Deng Xiaoping's time, top CCP leaders established an unspoken rule, that is, no killing each other. And yet suddenly, deaths are piling up, especially among top PLA leaders. Why? It comes down to raw power struggle. It was said that after a failed coup attempt to regain his power, Xi Jinping reportedly still refused to step down. His condition? He must choose his own successor. But that wasn't acceptable to Zhang Youxia and the party elders. So what can they do? There's a Chinese expression, kill the chicken to scare the monkey. 杀鸡给猴看, meaning punishing a lower target to intimidate a bigger one. Xi's power base is larger than Zhang Youxia's or the party elders, right? I mean, he's been in power for the past 12 years or 13 years. So his people are everywhere. So for Zhang Youxia and the party elders to pressure Xi, they must first go after his followers. And in Chinese, it's called 杀一儆百. Kill one to warn 100. So the 60-day rumor, in my opinion, serves that purpose. It doesn't necessarily mean that Xi Jinping's life, will be in danger in 60 days, although it's not entirely impossible. But I think here's the purpose. It serves a political purpose. If everyone's talking about Xi Jinping having only 6 days left to step down or die an unnatural death, just imagine the psychological pressure. The rumor itself becomes a weapon of intimidation. That's why, rumors are so powerful in CCP politics. We cannot ignore them. As for what might actually happen next, based on everything I have read, I think there are 4 possible scenarios. These are the 4 possible scenarios for Xi Jinping. First is he partially steps down, staying on as a symbolic figure by holding positions like the President of China, which is a ceremonial title, while his rivals take over real power. So that's the first scenario. And the second scenario is he fully steps down quietly and without retaliation or possibly citing health issues. And the third is he's forced out in disgrace. And he will be blamed for China's many crises. And he will be stripped of protection. The last but not least, he dies suddenly in office, perhaps from a health incident, just like Li Keqiang, if he refuses to go. Now, you might be thinking, well, what about Xi Jinping's security detail? I mean, doesn't he have bodyguards that protect him? Isn't that his safety net? Well, that's managed by Cai Qi, once considered Xi Jinping's most loyal enforcer, but Cai has started to distance himself. So for years, he parroted pro-Xi Jinping slogans like the 2 upholds and the 2 establishes, repeatedly in his public speeches. As recently as April 2025, this April, last month. I mean, even though when state media dropped these official languages that embellish Xi Jinping, the PLA media outlets were the first one that dropped these cookie cutter Xi Jinping embellishment. It started with the PLA media outlets, then some state media, and then state media. But Cai Xi has been adamant about sticking with them. So he was heard still using those expressions last month. But something shifted in May. So on May 17th, he was visiting Tangshan to oversee ideological work, which is rare. I mean, he was Xi Jinping's shadow. He follows Xi Jinping wherever he goes. He doesn't go on his own to supervise local work or does his own, he doesn't do his own thing because his job is Xi Jinping's executive assistant. So he just follows his boss. But it's very strange that he went to Tangshan to oversee some political work, and he gave a speech. And he made no mention of Xi Jinping thought or any of the usual loyal slogans. And also, very strangely, during Xi Jinping's May 19th to 20th trip to Henan, Cai was nowhere to be seen. Because obviously he was back from his Tangshan trip, but he didn't go on that trip with Xi Jinping. And that's very unusual because he always traveled with Xi Jinping, but not anymore. So this signals not just Xi Jinping's weakening grip, but also Cai Qi's strategic distancing. It could be his own choice, or it could be that he's forced to do that. And adding to the tension is the online circulation of a sharp internal directive called Notice on Preventing and Overcoming the Disruption of Ultra-Leftist Ideology to Current Work. It even has a number. It says General Office. It's a number 11. It's notice number 11 from the year 2025. I mean, this version of the document is spreading online. We can't verify if it's real or not because state media didn't report it. Though not officially confirmed, this document harshly criticizes the cult of personality, the dominance of one voice, and calls for a return to economic priorities and institutional oversight. These are all thinly veiled attacks on Xi Jinping. And if Cai Qi, the director of the General Office, sign off on that document, it's a clear break. It's a silent betrayal. And not just Cai Qi, Li Qiang also reportedly defecting. So rumors are now swirling around Premier Li Qiang, saying that he may have exposed Xi Jinping's secret 2035 plan. What is this plan? Well, this plan reportedly outlines Xi Jinping's ambition to rule for another decade until 2035. And he wants to capture Taiwan during that time, before 2035, and reshape the global order under China's dominance. The party elders and senior leaders were reportedly stunned by the audacity of this plan. And many believe that Li Qiang leaked the plan as a calculated move to protect himself. So it means that Li Qiang may now be quietly aligning with those working to unseat Xi Jinping. And there's another unusual sign. During Xi Jinping's recent tour in Henan, his security presence was drastically reduced. It was said that it's about half the size of his previous trips. While he was in Luoyang, Li Qiang chaired a high-level meeting in Beijing on Xi Jinping's behalf because the big boss was out. That itself is an unusual move. And around the same time, his state council issued a new regulation banning police escorts, roadblocks, lockdowns, and public disturbances during top leaders' local visits. In short, this regulation strips away the kind of elaborate security theater that Xi Jinping relies on. So many people say that this is a direct effort to weaken Xi Jinping's personal protection. And after a decade of crushing rivals and consolidating power, Xi Jinping now finds himself surrounded by enemies everywhere. And some of them are no longer afraid to strike. So now you know what I mean when I say CCP's factional politics is a life and death struggle. I think I have explained that clearly. And with that, I rest my case. Okay, so that's all I will say. Now, let me see if people have any questions for me. It is scary. That's I need to rely on some flower power to help me. It's a dreadful subject. But anyways, that's all for tonight. Let me see. Questions? Comments? More leaks? All right, let me see what people have for me. Oh, I see some super stickers. Oh, thank you. Let me see. Who is it from? Oh, here's one. Crunch the Grace Hopper. Lay peace and at a cost. Peace isn't China's collapsing due to Xi Jinping's oh my goodness, that's a word I don't know how to say. To accept Trump's first consideration offer in tariff talks, to now being in all fairness at the whip and tail of global tariffs equilibrium discussions. I mean, Trump's tariff war certainly exacerbated the internal power struggle because everyone is under pressure. And the way, the direction Xi Jinping is bringing China is certainly not productive, right? So with internal political infighting and external pressure, Xi Jinping's grip on power is severely weakened. So so the tariff war certainly, I think, has helped with the downfall of Xi Jinping and his faction, because the power balance is tipped off. Let me see. Well, thank you. Rogue Bass. Thank you for the super sticker. All right, let me see. Oh, I want to tell you something. Foreign Minister Wang Yi, I think he has also distanced himself from Xi Jinping, because he has taken a noticeably softer tone recently. China's foreign policy appears to be shifting. One example came from China's ambassador to Israel, Xiao Jun, who appeared on Israeli TV network and declared that Hamas actions are inhumane, unforgivable, and outrageous. China opposes and condemns what Hamas did on October 7th. Now, this marked the first time the CCP publicly condemned Hamas. Such a reversal, I don't think came from Xi Jinping. So that's another sign that his loyalists are moving away from him. Yeah. So. Okay. All right. Let me see. All right. Okay. Here's a question. Where is it? Someone asked me, where did I get my information? It's if you speak Chinese and you will if you follow, X is a good source for information on Chinese politics, because a lot of the people from inside China send their information to X. So if you speak Chinese and if you get on X and if you search 60-day plan, you're going to find all these information. And also not just on X, on YouTube and possibly Facebook, but it's in language, it's in Chinese language. They're all talking about it. But in the Western world, it's very quiet. Kazmira Flanagan, you're getting better and better. Okay, good. Oh, DB, what are the chances Xi Jinping makes a comeback? I think the chances for him to stage a comeback is small, because he tried. I mean, how do you explain all these people missing for so long without any explanation? It's just hard to explain, right? I mean, there are only two possible explanations. One is he seriously has a loyalty crisis within the military, and he's taking all of these people out or down. But that just defies logic. Why are so many people against him so ostensibly? Because these people have nothing to gain if they're against Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping gave them all the honor and the glory, even though they don't like the boss, but they're not gonna risk their family, their career to be against him. So it's hard to imagine that Xi Jinping took all these people out. If these people, if you're saying these rumors are false, and where have all these people been? They all have disappeared. Like the people I've shown you in the pictures, they're all top general and admirals. They're key. They hold key positions in the PLA. You can't imagine the PLA missing half of its top leadership. Where are these people? So something is going on, right? So something is going on. Now, if these people are missing for a reason, what is the reason? It can be Xi Jinping taking them out. That means somebody else has taken them out. But why would they take out so many Xi Jinping's loyalists? There's only one thing that can explain it. It's factional politics. And why is it so bloody? It's because Xi Jinping lost power. And then he tried to stage a comeback, but he failed. So unless someone can give me a better explanation to explain this, I'm not convinced. It's hard there's no any other explanation. And it's been going on for almost a year now, because it happened last July when he had a health episode, an episode of a health crisis. So it's been almost a year, and it's more and more, out. So those people who still believe Xi Jinping is in power, I find this hard to believe. It can be explained. So for that reason, I do not believe he can stage a comeback, because he has been trying for the past year. Believe me, he has tried, but failed miserably. And they're giving him a stick warning to say, stop that, step down. And then I think he has no chance left. That's my perspective. Although I welcome other people's opinion and analysis. Okay, all right. Stephen Zlock, Music Studio. Well, thank you, Stephen. Another YouTube channel. Thank you, Lei. Well, thank you. All right. someone asked me, will you do collaborations and guest appearances on other shows? I do not have any time. I think I only have so many hours every day. And I think my most important contribution to you is focusing on all these information coming out of China and make sense of them for you. So if I want to promote myself, is that really the most important thing? I don't think so. I don't see a lot of people doing what I do, to be honest with you. And so I feel like what I do is very important. It's not about how popular I am. I know some people, their goal is to grow their YouTube channel to be, I mean, it would be nice to have 1 million subscribers. I mean, that is my goal. But I have to focus on what I do. And I'm very focused. You don't even know how much time I spend on this and how focused I have to be in order to pull this information. Because if I'm distracted, and all those interviews, and people ask me to interview other people, and I have to do preparation as well. It is a distraction, but I'm not against the idea. We'll see. I'm open. Here's a question from Alan Go. Lei, do you think if Xi gets removed today, how relationship between US and China will become? It depends on who replaces him. We may end up having somebody who's even worse than Xi Jinping. And that says then the US-China relations will go down the drain. So it all depends on who will step in. Yeah. And what will happen to the regime, right? If the regime stays in place, you just have another Wang Jinping. There's no difference. That person could be worse than Xi. Let me see. Okay, here's a question from Only Da Trot. Lei, the world now is so uncertain. Leaders can change their plans and decisions anytime. Nothing's permanent now. One friend can be about enemy anytime. That's politics. Politicians don't have friends or enemies permanently. The lines between enemies and friends are blurry. So that's what politics is all about, or geopolitics is all about. That's my view. But I think that doesn't mean it's right. I think people in this time, the people who will be successful are the people who stand for something. You have to stand for something, and you're willing to. So those people who try to win from all sides, who flip-flop on policies, I don't think they have a chance. Yeah. Christopher Lawful, how do the citizens of China feel about possible murder of Xi? I think a lot of them will be happy, to be honest with you. I originally wanted to do a program. I've wanted to do a program about what's really happening at the grassroots level in China. And people are openly talking about organizing revolts against the government. They are actively searching ways to get organized. And it's unbelievable. And then the government recently has, I think, forced some organization. It's a club for single men. Like men, there are a lot of Chinese men who can't find a wife or even a girlfriend. So these people have organizations or clubs that they hang out. And this type of organizations are being brought down. They're being taken down. They're not allowed to exist because having young men organizing themselves is a dangerous thought to the top leaders. Not only that, they feared veterans organizations, right? Because these people are experienced. They also feared the delivery guys getting organized because most of them are men, young men. And so they're trying to prevent young men or organizations primarily made up of young men to create influence or to get together. That's an active initiative that's being carried out by the CCP. So, but whether or not that would be effective is yet to be seen. All right. Oh, here's Drusilla Schult. Thank you. Here's a question forwarded by Chris from Mitch. The overall question is, because Xi Jinping might be removed, will people be actually independent now? Or will everything remain the same even when he's gone? I think things will not be the same when he's gone. When he's gone, people will see that it's the moment of change. People may get organized to demand freedom. So that's why the regime is I think right now, those who are actually running the show from behind the scenes haven't really made up their mind what to do next, what kind of changes they want to bring so that the transition is smooth. And the reason they may allow Xi Jinping to hold a ceremonial position is they feared if the transition is too dramatic, the regime could completely collapse and there would be chaos erupt everywhere across the country. And they also may have a hard time deciding on the successor. So it's, whoever is they're trying to find a solution for a way out, because their biggest challenge is the regime is not sustainable. The regime should be brought to an end. But how are they going to do that, right? Without risking everything they have is a big question. If you watch my program from last weekend about the several models that they're contemplating, there's so far their favorite choice. There is the Vietnamese model, but that's the most similar to what China is today. And whether or not the Chinese people will be willing to accept a Vietnamese model in China, that's uncertain. I think people might have enough of the CCP's rule. So even though the top leaders may think, yeah, let's just do some political reforms on a limited scale, and let's be like Vietnam. But people may not have the patience to allow that kind of a political reform. People may want a fundamental change. So you can watch that program for more information. Here's a question forwarded by Chris from Evelyn Marquez. You said she was a compromise choice when they were choosing a leader. Did they imagine that he could become such a dangerous demigod? Was this to be expected? Well, they didn't. But here's the thing. It was not Xi Jinping. I think when they chose Xi Jinping wasn't this crazy or he wasn't a hardliner. During his first term, people in China generally welcomed him. But he made a mistake. But he knew very clearly that the Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms could not be continued anymore. They're at the end of the road, of that path. There has to be a major change. The Deng Xiaoping reforms could not be continued anymore. So he had a choice to steer China to the right and embrace genuine political reforms, even if it was a baby step, like what they did in Vietnam. It would be a meaningful change for China at that time, 12 years ago. And then he would gradually bring China to a better future by gradually um, incorporating more market economy and give people more freedom. He would be on a path of success if he turned to the right. But instead, he chose to turn to the left and return China to the Mao era. And that was his mistake. He made a wrong turn. He made the wrong decision. But it was not his fault that the economic reform, a lot of people was under the wrong impression that the economic reforms were successful up until Xi Jinping came on board. No, it was not. It was all covered up. The real problems were covered up. And the top leaders knew that they had nowhere to go. This economic reforms could not continue anymore with the way they were going. They have to be, Premier Wen Jiabao said that this economic reforms could not be continued if we don't see real political reforms. So Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao has created, and Deng Xiaoping, they really the so-called quote-unquote economic reforms were only looked good on surface. It was more like a giant Hollywood set, a prop that looked good on the surface, but in essence, it was not anything. It did not transform China at all. So I don't want to. So it's the system. The CCP is a dangerous organization that's capable of manipulating its leaders and turning them into dangerous dictators. I'm sure when Xi Jinping first came on board, his intention was good, but the system has pushed him into such a corner that he had no choice but becoming a dictator. So that's why I said it doesn't matter who succeeds him. That person may become even worse than Xi Jinping as long as they don't get rid of the communist regime, because that system is capable of turning any reasonable leader into a dictator. All right. Here's Sir Humphrey. Well, thank you, sir. I don't get these insights anywhere. Well, thank you. All right, let's see. Here's another one. Manny Kyla. Is she taking model from Stalin purges from the 1930s? Some people say if he initiated the purges, then he would be. But from what we have discussed, it doesn't look like the purges were initiated by him. So that means it wasn't him trying to copy Stalin from the 1930s. BK. Well, thank you, BK. All right. Have I thanked everyone who gave me a super sticker? Okay. All right. Oh, here's one. Carlton Percy. Thank you, Carlton. John Marcus Ellis. Well, thank you, John. All right, that's all. I have reached the bottom. Oh, here's a question from Funk Master 8. Lei is usually a step of many other analysts, her and insider team to be on the cutting edge, but all of the truth speakers are doing a very good job. Well, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. And Stephen Hurting. Well, thank you, Stephen, for the super sticker. CCP equals paper chicken. All right. That's all for tonight. I thank you, everyone, for joining me. And I will see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And with that, my weekend begins. Okay, bye-bye.